doing a drugstore date night / Valentine's Day look. So the most expensive thing in here is $18, but everything else is basically $15 and under. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up down below. I would love to have you along for this journey. I do post 2 beauty videos every week, and I love taking your suggestions, so keep those coming as always. And let's go ahead and dive in. I'm gonna start off with this Essence I Heart Stage eyeshadow base. I tested this out in a standalone video, so if you are interested in that, I will link that for you. I'm just gonna prime my eyes with this. Like we usually do for eye tutorials, I will do one eye on my own, come back and match it up with you guys on the other side. If there's a different way you guys would like to see eye tutorials from me or something, please let me know. I just figured this is the most effective use of the time and editing and everything, and it's what I like to see on YouTube. You can look at what the end result is going to be while you're creating the look. This base does have a little bit of a warm undertone to it because it does have some color to cancel out veins and that sort of thing, which I really like about it. But if you are really on the cool tone side, you'll just want to set this all over with a shadow that kind of brings it down to your level. Kind of cancels out those yellow or orange undertones. I believe it's under $5 as well. Alright, so I have one eye done. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. It is kind of what I envisioned. This is not how I will be attending date night, but it is quite a cold and foggy day, so I am staying nice and toasty while we're filming this. I've also learned the hard way not to get ready in the clothes that you intend to go out in, because oftentimes your foundation just feels the need to like spit out and then it gets all over your clothes and you have to change your outfit anyway. I only used really a handful of brushes. Mostly the Wet n Wild collection that I have reviewed for you guys. If you have not seen that review, I will link it for you. First off, what I did was I went into the ColourPop Yes Please and took the lightest shade to set down my brow bone. This helps so that nothing creeps up past where you want it to for blending purposes. Now that I've done that, I'm going to reach into the Take Me Home palette and use that peach transition like I mentioned. This is the lightest transition between these two palettes is why I'm taking it. It's just like 2 shades darker than my skin maybe, and that's why this works so well. It's just an initial color. You won't even see it by the time we have everything else on there, but it helps the more pink shades to have something to blend into. Using that same brush, I'm going to reach back into the Give It To Me Straight palette and use the shade Downright, which is a kind of mauve-y shade over here on this side. And I'm just going to start building our transition area. When you do pinky purpley colors, you got to be careful. It's not something that blends real easily into the skin if you just immediately go in with a dark shade. So we want to kind of set the stage first before we bring all that shimmer in here. Mauve shade will frame everything really nicely. How many times can I say nice in one video? I feel like I'm decent at describing products the way I intend to, but sometimes my word choice is just very lackluster. That's a better word. We're gonna switch brushes real briefly and head over to this tapered blending brush from that same Wet n Wild collection. It's got color on it from my other eye. Dip into Downright. Just because this is a denser brush, it's gonna pack it on differently. We're gonna get a more intense color payoff with this brush. So we're gonna build up this one. Sticking with that same brush, we're going to start working with TMI, which is this gorgeous raspberry color. I'm going to start by putting that on the outer corner and into the crease. I'm just building up that TMI shade. And if you guys want an all matte look, just know that the great thing about makeup is you can stop at any point. Like if you want an all matte eye look, you can go back in, grab a little more of that transition, like blend this out seamlessly, and you're done. Like you don't have to do more than this. That's what's great about makeup, is just take the pieces that you like or the pieces that you find wearable and apply those to yourself. You don't have to do it all. I'm gonna take a little bit smaller brush now. This is the Pro Dome pencil or the Pro Dome crease brush. I never can really remember. And I'm gonna take a little bit of Actually, which is the deepest shade in here, and I'm gonna mix it with the deepest shade from the Take Me Home palette, which is French Kiss. We're gonna tuck that just on this outermost part of that outer V. And then I'm gonna go back to the tapered brush and dip in those same brown shades that we mixed and grab a little bit of TMI, the raspberry shade, and just blend out where it meets. Let's go ahead and do the fun part, which is the shimmer stuff. So I grabbed this Wet n Wild. These ones don't have the names on them, so I really apologize if I'm referencing the wrong brush, but this is a super thin, kind of flimsy, flat brush. I think it's their small concealer brush, but when I repurchased that, I got a much denser version, so I really don't know which one this is, and it's kind of killing me that I don't know which one it is, but I apologize. I am going to dip this into that e.l.f. shade that we mentioned earlier, this Soiree kind of jelly formula. If you want to avoid fallout altogether, I would still do this, and that is mist it with some Fix Plus once you have it on that brush. The Fix Plus has glycerin in it, which is kind of the glue of the makeup industry. This really helps those little glitters to not rain down on your face throughout the day, to give it a little bit more to adhere with, because the shadow, for me at least, is just a little too dry to cling to my skin when I use a brush. If I use my fingers, it will go on my skin, but I have had some fallout issues with it in the past, so I'm taking extra measures. You can use a different mist. You do not have to use Fix Plus. The size that I'm using, I believe, is $10. I'm just trying to finish this guy up because you can see there's just a little left in there. You can use any setting spray that doesn't bother you near your eyes. I know some setting sprays are very high in alcohol content and it would likely burn, so just pay attention to what kind of spray you're using here. This particular one is not high in alcohol content at all, is why I feel comfortable using it on my eyes. Just making sure there's no skin peeking through, because we want this to be the base for the shadow we're going to go in with. And just for the purposes of protecting the eyeshadow pan, I am wiping this brush off on a sturdy paper towel in my lap. Be Blunt, this gorgeous shimmer here, and load up my brush, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're gonna grab some Fix Plus. We're gonna top up everywhere that we just put that cream base down. See how intense and beautiful that is? I am using this brush to kind of cut it right above my crease, right above my hood, so that when it inevitably does transfer, there's already that matching color up high enough to mask any deterioration of the look, if you will. I'm actually just touching up that same line on this side while my brush is still damp. I tended to bring that higher. We're just gonna kind of touch up the outer corner to make it match the other side. So I'm grabbing that tapered brush again, and I'm mixing Actually and TMI, and just kind of building up that outer corner to match this side. It seems to come over a little further on this side than I did on this corner, so just gonna kind of do that. I'm gonna wipe this brush off on my color switch. I'm gonna go back into Downright and just blend this area, because since we did kind of cut it with glitter, we want it to still be blended here. I'm gonna take a little bit more TMI just to kind of cover up my skin. And then I'm gonna go back to our big blending brush in Downright and just blend out the edge. Get this all nice and seamless. Also gonna lightly dip into Matter of Fact and do that trick that I mentioned to you guys in my last tutorial, which is just blending those upper edges with the lightest shade. It takes your look up several notches and takes very, very little effort. I'm gonna reach for a Makeup Geek shadow. You can use whatever black shadow you have on hand. This is just the one that I have handy and is within our price range for the stuff we're talking about in this video. I'm gonna do an unusual thing and use a Morphe brush. I do not encourage purchasing Morphe brushes, as I have had very inconsistent and disappointing results with my purchases. I will not give them any more of my money. So I'm using this because this is the only style of this brush that I own. Otherwise, I would love to show you something different. But this is a flat line definer brush. This is the Morphe M432. And I'm going to use this to push some black shadow right into my lash line. We're going to use this instead of liner today to just thicken up the lash line. This is a much softer way of defining. Ooh, I just got a little in my eye. That's what I get for not tapping off such a pigmented shadow. If you wanted this to be more defined, like a liner, then you could also spray this brush with Fix Plus. And I'm just bringing it about 2/3 of the way across my eye. That's what's flattering on my eye shape. Do whatever works for you. This is the Maybelline Face Studio Blender. I do have a video review of this as well. I've been using this since about last summer and I adore it. I've gone through a couple of them. They do get to a point where they get kind of stiff and not as bouncy because you can't get the foundation back out of them. I love this sponge. I think it's just as good as the Beauty Blender and I will continue to repurchase this. I have 2 backups already because I'm that certain. I realized that I actually want to do my brows first before foundation today because I want to use a different method than I've ever used on here before. I don't think I've ever shown you guys how I do this with this particular product. This is a waterproof eyebrow gel from NYX. Makeup Forever makes a very similar thing that's been very popular for a really long time. It takes forever to go through this little tube. I've had this a lot longer than the 9-month shelf life they prescribed to it, but I only use it on me, so it's at my discretion, right? But I'm gonna put a little bit of this on the back of my hand. I have the shade Blonde, which is the shade number 1, and that's what it looks like. It's not a very warm tone blonde. It's a very kind of taupey neutral shade. I'm gonna reach for my Royal and Langnickel paintbrush. This is an 1/8 of an inch angled brush. I actually bought this at a craft store many, many years ago, and it's still my favorite for brows and gel liner and that sort of thing, especially with these type of products because it is so precise. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by brushing my brow hairs down. I'm trying to find my spoolie. What's interesting about this formula is that it does kind of hold your hairs in place as it dries. You want to work fairly quickly. I'll do like 1 brow at a time probably. I just realized, I mean, I knew it before, but I just wasn't paying attention. This little ColourPop Take Me Home palette does have a mirror, so I'm going to use that. Outline my upper border first. Brush those brow hairs back up so we can do the lower border, and then we'll kind of fill in between. I almost waited too long. It will start to flake if you're brushing through this and it has set, so just keep that in mind. When I say you need to work quickly, I do mean it. It's not the most easy to work with product in the world, but it's very good for a very good price. Here's my girl. This is Darcy. Hi. This is my little snaggletooth girl. She developed an underbite when she was 11 months old. Before that, she was perfect. I still think she's perfect. She is always in here with me when I'm filming because otherwise she'll think I'm talking to a real person and she'll be barking in the background of the entire video. She is the sweetest little thing ever. Aren't you? She could just fall asleep right here. She doesn't care. She's just happy to be with me. All right, you can sit on my lap. Another reason why I can't wear my actual going out outfit until I'm ready to leave the house. It'll be covered in dog hair. Her life is not complete if she is not on my lap. That's just how it is. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do the other brow really quickly. topped up just a couple of edges with this NYX Eyebrow Cake Powder, just because that NYX eyebrow gel wasn't an exact match to my hair color, so I needed to darken it up a little bit with this guy on some of the edges, just so that it looked a little bit more natural. I primed my face with this L'Oreal Lumi Glotion in the shade Fair. I really have been liking that so far. It's been nice, especially if you are a dry skin type. It's like a hydrating and a luminous base. And then I've mixed my 2 shades of Wet n Wild Photo Focus foundation on this palette, this little glass pillar candle holder. I apply that with my Maybelline sponge. I'm doing it this way because the last time I applied this foundation, I applied way too much and it started to dry on my face before I could blend it out. So I didn't want to apply it everywhere like I did last time. I'm going to apply some of this Wet n Wild Photo Focus concealer. The reason why I am using this line of products is because they are proven to not give you flashback in 7 different forms of lighting situations. So God forbid you guys are out on date night on Valentine's Day and decide to take a little selfie and you look like a ghost, or you just disappear from the photo altogether. It's happened to the best of us. I don't want it to happen to you. So that's why I'm using this Photo Focus line. I'm going to add a tiny bit of coverage with the second layer, just in my kind of dark areas. And before we set that with powder, tap a little bit of that extra concealer that's on our sponge on a couple of blemishes I have. Let's go ahead and blend out that under eye one more time, and then we'll go in and set it. I'm going to use some of my Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder on this Wet n Wild Tapered Highlighting Brush. What the deal is with this foundation today. My skin is just not having it. Like, my nose is still kind of broken up, even though I've reapplied this. It just doesn't, I don't know. I have never had this reaction with this foundation before. I feel like everywhere else it looks really nice. I don't know what's going on. Let's go ahead and highlight. I'm going to use the Innuendo highlighting palette from ColourPop. You don't have to use this. There are lots of wonderful, affordable highlights at the drugstore for you. One of my latest favorites is this new Master Chrome by Maybelline in the shade Rose Gold, or Molten Rose Gold. If you are more on the medium to deep side of things, or if you just prefer something more gold, I would go with the Molten Gold, which was the original shade, and that one is beautiful as well. I do own that one too. Those are about $10 at your drugstore. This palette I just can't get enough of. I have used this every day since I showed it to you guys on video, and I just can't get away from it. It's beautiful, and it gives the glossiest sheen to the face. I just can't get over it. It's lovely. So I'm gonna play around and probably mix all 3 of these in some variation because I'm just obsessed. Again, we're using a lot of the Wet n Wild brush collection that I have reviewed for you guys. I do love these. I use them all the time. I use them every day. I have purchased 2 sets of them. Now, they are available now in a rose gold shade for $70 for the exact same set. I think that's outrageous, and I would not pay that. They did mark it up because they saw how well it did at holiday when they did the boxed set at $30. When I purchased my second set, and I purchased it for all the people on my Christmas list, it was actually marked down to 50% off. So you got 10 brushes for $15. That, I think, is an amazing deal, and you totally should get them. But as far as how they are now, I would pick up the brushes individually that you think you need, because I think they are great, but not everyone needs every brush, you know what I mean? Taking another Pro Dome pencil brush, I'm gonna dip into On the Loose and Glad You Came for my inner corner. Because I want to tie in a little bit of the kind of pinky purpley shades we have in everything else, I'm going to pick up on Tempo as well and put that on top. I'm going to go into the Give It To Me Straight palette and just pick up Downright on my Real Techniques shading brush and run that along the lower lash line. Alright Dreamers, I bronzed up my face with a little bit of Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I figure you guys have seen me do that a million times, or half a million times. I'm going to go ahead and apply some blush now, using the Physicians Formula Butter Blush in the shade Rosy Pink. This is kind of a cool toned blush. Ooh, I don't like it with this brush. No, no. A little pigmented for me with this brush, but I'll make it work. I'm gonna mist my face with a little bit of setting spray. Of course, I'm gonna be high maintenance and use 2 setting sprays. I'm gonna use a little bit of the Milani Make It Dewy on the center of my face because I am a little bit dry right now. I'm gonna use the Maybelline Master Fix on the rest of my face. To quickly curl my lashes and apply some mascara, and I will come back to you guys for lip color options. Since we've done everything else, I wanted to give you guys a few options because the one that I wanted to reach for the most is available online exclusively, and that is the ColourPop Ultra Satin Lips. I have the shades Magic Wand and Echo Park are 2 of my favorite nudes. I'm gonna opt for a nude since we did such a bold eye look, but if you wanted to go a different route and your lips are not as dry as mine, I really enjoy the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Liquid Lipsticks. These are really nice as well. For me, they don't last through a meal. That's a chemistry thing. I've heard a lot of people say that this does last for them. I have that experience with the Ultra Satin Lips, is why I'm gonna opt for those. This does dry down to a matte finish, but it does have a light tackiness to it. I have Nudist, which is their lightest nude shade, and this one is exclusive to Ulta, and this one is Petal Potion, if you wanted a more pink kind of color for Valentine's Day. I think Magic Wand, which is this lighter nude. Magic Wand just wasn't working for me. It was a little too washed out to kind of keep up with this look, in my opinion. So I did swap it out for Echo Park, which is the one that has that little bit of a peachier color to it. While I like this look, I want to add a little bit more dimension. So I'm reaching for this L'Oreal Infallible Metallic Paints in the shade Moonlust, which is their lightest shade. I love putting this on the center. You don't have to do very much at all, just so you get a little shine. And this is our finished look. Well, actually, scratch that. Let me go put on my appropriate attire for this look. Now, this is our finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up so that I know. And if there's different types of videos you'd like to see from me, I want to know that too. So please leave them in the comments down below. I love hearing from you guys and giving you guys what you want to see. If you did enjoy this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I do put out 2 beauty videos a week, and you can be notified of them by clicking that bell next to the subscribe button. That will notify you every time I post a new video. I hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day, whether you are celebrating friendship type love, family love, romantic love, whatever point you are at in your life. I hope it's a wonderful day for you, and I hope that you feel loved. Know that I care about you, and I'm glad that you're here. I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening wherever you are. Keep dreaming, and I hope to see you in my next video.